By now, you might have heard that a ruling by a Delaware judge went against Elon Musk and Tesla. The $55 billion compensation plan that Tesla offered Elon Musk has now been rescinded. So what steps are next? What will Elon and Tesla do? While an appeal of the crazy unfounded judgment is very likely, there's at least one step that Elon has just announced. Tesla will change its state of incorporation to Texas. Today, we're going to watch video of how the public and shareholders initially viewed the 2018 compensation plan. And yeah, you got it. It was 100% viewed as both impossible and fair. We've got Larry Goldberg joining us. He's a multi-entrepreneur. He's a regular on my channel. Thank you so much, Larry.
Great to be here, Herbert.
So this news about the judge ruling in Delaware has been pretty shocking, and there's been a lot of discussions. I think at the end of the day, after the next day, people are calming down and realizing that there's probably ways to maneuver around this. But I thought it was important for us to just go back to revisit what it was, how it was thought about, how Elon thought about this whole comp plan, and then what is his next actions that he's going to take. So, let's talk about what happened at the time in 2018. So James Stevenson said, here's how CNBC broke the news. When the Tesla board announced the new 2018 CEO compensation plan on January 23rd, 2018, when Tesla was trading at a $59 billion market cap. Andrew Sorkin, who we're going to show his video and actually his reply just yesterday, he called it, dare I say, crazy, perhaps the most radical compensation plan in history, impossible to game. If he gets to say 99 billion, he gets nothing. It's not enough to get the 99 billion. Even if he got the double, it wouldn't be enough. If somehow magically he would get the company to 650 billion, which is literally what the plan calls for, if you can believe this, he would collect the equivalent of about 55 billion. Not only did Tesla get to 650, it only took 3 years. Before I play the video, Larry, did you want to have a comment on this?
Yeah, I mean, this is a case of you can't win even when you win. I mean, it seemed an impossible task. There were some of us who believed he may do it. Not many, but it looked like an impossible task. And now the court has made it impossible. The irony of all of this is it's end up costing the Tesla shareholders a lot of money, somewhere in the order of $5 billion, which is what the lawyers tell us that this law firm is likely to win in terms of costs. That's the sum total of what it's going to cost the shareholders. And at the end of the day, we are going to all agree to pay Elon the same thing anyway. So the whole thing is just, it's got this crazy, Marx Brothers theme to it. It's extraordinary.
Yeah. Anti-capitalistic. It doesn't make sense. Never been done before by a judge. So you have to ask why. But let's go watch this video from Andrew Sorkin, his reaction when the board initially presented the 2018 comp plan.
By the way, that was my reaction too. I was amazed that Elon would take this chance. Amazed.
Yeah. Zero compensation, no salary. He has to hit these targets before he gets anything. And there were impossible targets. Let's watch this.
Broke literally overnight. Elon Musk, he's the subject of the column, telling me he's now agreed to stay on as CEO of Tesla for the next decade. There had been a lot of speculation that he'd be stepping down in the next 2 or 3 years. He had said that once the completion of the Model S, or the Model 3 rather, was up and running, that he might not stay at the company, at least as the CEO. But Tesla now announcing a radical new compensation plan. It could be perhaps the most radical compensation plan in history. Musk's compensation is going to be tied directly to the company's performance. The executive will receive no guaranteed compensation of any kind at all. He gets no salary, cash bonus, equity. He only gets equity that vests over time, but only if he reaches these hurdle rates, which are, dare I say, crazy. So right now the company's worth $59 billion. They run at $50 billion increments. So if he gets the company to $100 billion...
Wait, you're just talking market capitalization, not based on revenue, not based on the number of production?
There's going to be 2 metrics at each step. So the first step is he has to get the company to $100 billion and reach these operational and adjusted EBITDA and revenue number. If he doesn't get either of them, he gets nothing.
That's kind of a weird way to break it down based on market capitalization.
If he gets to 150... and has to hit the operational numbers.
But, I mean, the
and then
market
gets
can
to
be
200.
irrational, so you can't control that.
At each $50 billion number, he collects 1% of the company. If somehow, magically, he would get the company to $650 billion, which is literally what the plan calls for, if you can believe this, he would collect the equivalent of about $55 billion in compensation. Otherwise, he gets absolutely nothing.
What if you get it to $650 billion and then it immediately collapses to $500 billion? Is it just hitting that market capitalization milestone that matters? Or is it keeping it there for a certain time? Is it hitting it?
So here's where it gets even more interesting. The shares vest, but then he has to hold the shares for 5 years at each break point.
You still get it, right? Even if market capitalization is the weirdest thing I've ever heard.
No. You can't. It's impossible to game because even if you were to get the company in the market cap to $100 billion, you then have to, by the way, hit the operational numbers
on top of it.
On top of it, you have to get both, and then you have to hold the shares for 5 years.
I mean, it's
weird. So if you were trying to do something temporary to try and get
the stock price up,
you can't because 5 years later your shares would be worthless.
It would affect decisions on buybacks and issuing stock and floats and all kinds.
Market cap is just a bizarre.
So interestingly, the last compensation plan that they had in place started in 2012. It was similar in some ways to this. It had a market cap component, and then it had all sorts of.
I've never heard of another company tying.
Nobody's ever done it. But he literally gets nothing. And the other thing that's interesting is if he gets to, let's say, $99 billion, he gets nothing. If you get to the next one, if you get to $149 billion, you get nothing. If you get but it is truly eat what you kill, skin in the game in that regard.
Well, I mean.
Hey there, thanks for checking out CNBC on YouTube.
What do you think, Larry?
You know, in my view, this is the dream compensation plan. You know, the court attacked this from the perspective of the board didn't build this compensation plan or didn't do due diligence. Elon structured it. I mean, if a CEO came to me in my company and said, listen, if I quintuple your money, I want this amount of money, this small percentage of it, I want this amount of money, I would say, done. Fine. You're there. I got it. No board would turn that down. No court could gainsay that. In this case, the court constructed this whole set of principles that don't exist in law. In my amateur judgment, the magistrate constructed this whole requirement in law all about disclosure to the public, to the public shareholders. Well, I have never seen more disclosure in my life because this thing was discussed thoroughly in all the newsrooms. You just heard this crazy lady talking about market cap she was focused on. But that conversation that took place in that news report was multiplied 1,000 times because it was discussed in hundreds of articles, hundreds, if not thousands of articles, and hundreds of talk shows. And it was delved into in very great detail. So we as shareholders, when we came to make the vote, we were so well informed of all the backwards and forwards and ideas and so on. So the whole reason this thing was overturned was a construct, a legalistic construct to somehow find a technical means to overturn it. And it's really it's the end of this business-friendly notion of the state having a friendly environment for business. I think business is going to run away, and I've seen it now. Amongst my friends, I've seen it with people I do business with. All of a sudden, Delaware is off the table, and it's going to be a huge impact. Huge impact.
Yeah, we're going to talk about that because Tesla is about to move their incorporation to Texas. And like you say, a lot of people are now going to look at this and decide if they're going to do it again. So you said it earlier, I think, that you hit it right on the money, which is, it was a technicality that she's saying, the judge, that the shareholders were not notified or that it was controlled by the board. Elon controlled the board. But what you said was that
as I read it, the magistrate said that he had close relationships.
Yeah.
He was close friends with the board members. Therefore, they were not independent, and this was not fully disclosed.
Right. Which is a technicality, because that if he was controlling the board and he created his own comp plan, like you said earlier, why would anybody create it like this? This is like the hardest, most weirdest comp plan ever, because you don't, I don't get paid any salary. I don't get paid any bonus. Even if I hit to double our current market cap, I get nothing. I have to hit not only my market cap, I have to hit revenue and profitability goals. And when I get my options, I have to hold it for 5 years. Like,
it just sounded like a large amount of money, but if you look at it as a percentage of the
trillions
value, it's well within parameters. I mean, I pay salesmen like that, or I used to pay salesmen like that all the time. Yeah.
It's less than 5%.
Crazy construct that came to, and it is so torturous. The logic of it is so torturous, and it's couched in such a legalistic form that it's clear to me that she set out to find a way to find against him, and what makes it bad is that there's all kinds of political relationships between her and the governor. I mean, there was a job relationship between her and the governor and the president, and we all know that and so it has a terrible look to it. I mean, I don't know if any of that's true. It doesn't matter whether it's true or not. She voided, well, she didn't void yet, but she is about to void a transaction because of relationships that were unseemly, and she has an unseemly relationship. Oh my God.
The irony. I mean, that's a good point.
You cannot get more ironic than that. You cannot.
That is hilarious. That's a good point. Okay, let's share some more information here and get your thoughts on it. So, Andrew Ross Sorkin replied to, this is yesterday. He said this: I remember this morning very well. I had spoken to Elon by phone earlier and written a column in New York Times for that morning, and then went on the air with the news. The truth is, I thought the comp plan was the most skin in the game in history. I still do. I've criticized CEO comp a lot, but not this package. Without the incentives, he could have easily stepped down as CEO, and then where would Tesla have been? Admittedly, I was skeptical he'd hit the most ambitious targets of the package, but he did. Having put his entire comp at risk, isn't that what we want when we say pay for performance? And then at the July 20th, 2017, Elon sent this email. The added comp, this is before they actually created this, is just so that I can put as much as possible towards minimizing existential risk by putting the money towards Mars. If I'm successful in leading Tesla to be one of the world's most valuable companies, this is kind of crazy, but it is true. Hope it isn't misinterpreted. So, I mean, he's saying the reason I want a high payment for, if I hit these crazy targets is because I want to have stock and money to be able to continue the mission of Mars. And then Elon replied back to that initial tweet I showed here, and he said the most salient point that was missed was that the shares could not be sold for 5 years after exercise of the options, making it impossible to exercise and run. Any thoughts on this?
Yeah, I've had salespeople present proposals to me or to my company for their remuneration package. I have never met a salesman who's put a proposal to me for some really significant remuneration and is prepared to wait 5 years to receive it. Never in my history. I mean, this package was such a great package for Tesla and for its shareholders. When you look at all the structures in it, it was enormous reward, but for an enormous performance. And after I get the reward, I'm locked in for 5 years in order to win that reward. Now, who would do that? Who in his right mind would do that? Only Elon Musk could have the level of confidence and future vision to put that in their own package if they are dictating that package to their quote friends, unfriend. I mean, if he had friends on the board that he could influence, as the magistrate put it, he wouldn't have put any of that stuff in. Mm-hmm. He wouldn't have twinned, you know, both the stock price and the operational performance, and he wouldn't have put in the 5 years. Mm-hmm. He would have said, look, I'll just get 10% of the stock price, you know, 5 different points. But he didn't. He structured something that he felt that he could live with from his conscience, and that his, quote, friends on the board, unquote, could also live with. I mean, she said they were not independent. I get very angry about that, and I don't want to get into that now, but I know some of those people on the board are people of immense, I mean, they are very serious people, and they're people of, you know, unquestioned integrity. Mm-hmm. And it really angers me that functionally she's questioning their integrity. Anyway, bottom line is, Orkin is right.
So the reason that Elon did this is because he actually owns Tesla. This is his baby. And so there was actually an email that he sent to the board. I don't have it. I didn't prepare it for the show, unfortunately. And he actually said in that email, like, he replied back saying, actually, I want it to be worse for me, because he goes, and he laughs. He goes, I know that I'm actually negotiating against myself, because he has his Elon hat, and he's got the Tesla hat, and he's like in charge of Tesla too. So he's like going, you know, I don't want to give him Elon too much. And so he actually negotiated back some worse terms. And so it's funny. So, okay. Yeah.
An honestly written opinion would have had the balance of these factors against this very tendentious argument about the lack of independence of the board. And it's not so much that she talked about the lack of independence on the board. She talked about the lack of disclosure of that independence on the board, which is the funniest thing in the world, because the whole world knows the relationship between those people, and it was spoken about in the press at length. I mean, come on. You know why I'm so exercised and why I'm so angry? Because I know it's going to be money out of my pocket.
Money out of your pocket. Okay, hold on. I'm just okay. So the next part of this is what Elon and Tesla is going to do immediately. And the first thing he did was he's announced that, you know, he started to ask the question, you know, saying right off the bat, saying, never incorporate your company in Delaware. And then he put out this poll. Should Tesla change its state of incorporation to Texas, home of its physical headquarters? 87% of 1 million people said yes, 13% no. And then he then replied this morning, the public vote is unequivocally in favor of Texas. Tesla will move immediately to hold a shareholder vote to transfer state of incorporation to Texas. This is their headquarters in Texas. And I already did that. Cyber Rodeo happened there. Yeah. What's your thoughts on that, moving it to Texas?
Well, I have a couple of thoughts. Firstly, I think, you know, this case has to be resolved in Delaware. It can't be moved. So that was a question a lot of people asked me. Can they move the case to Delaware, to Texas? No. The events happened while the company was headquartered in Delaware, and this thing's going to have to be played out in Delaware with this magistrate. However, this certainly removes Delaware from the puzzle for future action going forward from now. And, you know, we as a company are going to have to come to a new agreement with Elon, and that new agreement will definitely be written under the laws of the state of Texas. I think we should have been a little bit more considered where we relocate the headquarters, because, Texas has a franchise tax. And that tax is about 0.75% of gross profits. That's a fair amount of money. And I'm not sure whether it's worldwide gross profits. I suspect it is. I don't know much about the tax laws in Texas, but it seems that, you know, there are other states where there is zero tax law, where you could have relocated the sort of the formal office of the company. But nonetheless, I think Texas is probably a better place to go. One thing's for sure, Delaware has become political. It's now clear that there are politics in play when it comes to commercial businesses, and never was before. This is a change, and we've seen the change come about in the last 3 or 4 years in general. This is not the first, by the way, event that's happened where eyebrows have been raised. So I think that this is the right move. I'm not sure it's the right state, but it's the right move. If Elon's comfortable with it, fine. But it's clear that Delaware is not a friendly state to Tesla or its shareholders.
Okay. Yep. Good points. And then, of course, they're very likely to do an appeal. And then even if it goes to the Supreme Court of Delaware, they're also pretty well the same,
Yeah, I heard, I was of the opinion that Tesla would absolutely go to appeal. Then I heard some opinions that it was probably not a good idea to go. It may not be a good idea to go to appeal.
Just solve it. Yeah.
Shareholder
vote.
Yeah, I'm not a lawyer, and I don't like to gainsay lawyers. I do like to listen to what they have to say. And so I don't think we're resolved on that Tesla are necessarily resolved on that. I do think, however, we as a company and we shareholders are going to have to revote this agreement, or reinstantiate this agreement. Whether Elon will want to, tie this into an ongoing relationship, whether he'll do what my recommendation is or not, which is to tie this into this desire to move to 25%, and I've put forward some suggestions in that regard. I don't know, but it's an interesting moment, and maybe this is the time to get this all done.
Yeah. Okay. Now, so one last thing that people were confused about is, they're talking about this person who put up the lawsuit actually only had 9 shares of Tesla. Clearly, that person was just kind of a stooge and a stooge that's kind of like representing the class action lawsuit.
Yeah, that's how
That's how it works. Yeah. If someone with 9 shares of Tesla is able to do this, imagine what more powerful and wealthy people can do. Hopefully now more people understand why Elon wants to have 25% control of Tesla as they build a very powerful technology that will affect humankind like never before. No, that's not right. Omar says
the second part of the sentiment is right. The second part of the sentiment is right.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter whether the person has 9 shares or 90,000 or 9 million. The money comes from the law firm. The law firm finances this. Look, it's a business model.
Yeah.
These law firms finance these. They find a stooge. They find somebody who has a skin in the game. 9 shares is enough. They put that person in front, and that person gets a couple of $1,000 as their reward. That's it. But it's the law firm that is making the money, and the law firm enters into this business.
Yep. That's it. Anyone can bring shareholder litigation against a public company, even with 1 share. And then Elon replies saying, the real plaintiff is the class action law firm. So that's pretty obvious. So people were saying it's weird that a person with 9, that's nothing to do with it, really.
In a way, it has everything to do with it, because it points to the problem of tort law in the United States. the legal system under which I grew up, the British legal system, is entirely different. You can't go farming for money this way, but it's money farming, and we all, the public, gets hurt. People think that these massive, wins against big business is good for keeping the business honest and so on and so forth. It's not really. It's another form of business, and it is very big business. These people make a huge amount of money.
Okay. Thank you so much. I appreciate all that. That was important. We needed to see, the key points after this event occurred. We'll keep watching this. Thank you so much, Larry. Follow him on X at Tesla Larry. I've created a website that is the most comprehensive resource for the Tesla investor. Please check it out. Simply go to my website at herbertong.com.